because it's indeed achiever. But I would say sometimes quiet, because he's oftentimes very humorous and makes us all laugh. You could be relied upon to complete assignments with dexterity, skill, and humility. Your courteous manner was a feature in your relationships with colleagues at every level. I'm sure Partha is very surprised about this. He doesn't know anything about this. But it is a credit to your application and performance that you have risen to the level of Assistant Research Program Director from that of a research assistant. Well done, Partha. I also recall that you were quite an accomplished spin bowler for the ICRISAT cricket team. And that's where he has been loved by many outside the socioeconomics policy program, which was called economics program before, because it made the team a champion. And once that year, when I was new, he was declared the most valuable player. I trust that you will still play the game and are watching the current competitive test series between India and Australia, as I am. Correct? Right. I hope your retirement is a fulfilling experience. You can be assured it is well deserved after all of your accomplishments at ICRISAT. With best wishes and warm personal regards, Jim Ryan, former leader of the economics program and Director General, ICRISAT. So that's Jim Ryan. Can we have a big hand for that message? I have another one, and I'll just read this one now. There are much more other messages, but that will be for the later one. Dear Partha, this is from Tom Walker. Congratulations on your superannuation. It's about time. Seriously, superannuation sounds so formal. I prefer the Spanish word for retirement, jubilación. It's time for jubilation. As the longest serving social scientist in the CGIAR, and that he has, you certainly have done the needful. You, Cynthia, Mohan, VK Chopte, and your colleagues have been able to keep the program going on long-term development trajectory over all these years. It hasn't been easy, especially with the budgetary shortfalls from the mid-90s to the mid-2000s. When all is said and done, I think that ICRISAT's work in economics and social science will be remembered for its commitment that is second to none in data collection and assembly analysis and distribution of to inform medium and long-term development issues to improve the welfare of the rural and urban poor in the semi-arid tropics. And you have been a big part of that sustained effort since the mid-70s. You're one of the best liked and most respected people at ICRISAT. This I have repeated many, many times. He is one scientist who, if some other economists are all in their tables in the economics program, it is Partha and many of us as well, who are well in great demand by the breeders, by the natural resource management scientists, not only here, but also in sub-Saharan Africa. So I said again, more than 100 times, you're one of the best liked and most respected people at ICRISAT. You are hardworking, but the trait that I admire the most about you is your ability and to take yourself too seriously. You're endowed with a good capacity after some practice to understand weird sense of humor, which is very true. Another clap for that. Because many times when we are all down, and we are really seriously down, Partha would just have two words, or crack a joke, and everybody will be okay, laughing and smiling. You also have an uncanny ability to separate the wheat from the chaff, which is greatly appreciated by some of us who are clueless about what is happening in some specific context. If my retirement is any indication, you will keep doing what you have been doing. Rest a few days. Next week, I'll send you a paper on the expansion of the pigeon pea in Mozambique for comments. So Partha, you'll be receiving all of this, and Tom has already advanced you. I also need to talk to you about the direct district level database for East India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. All the best. Tom. By Partha. Can we put on the seminar, please? The seminar. So we will have a view of the last 40 years of social science research. How social scientists, with example of Partha, can assist and provide very important decision support information, whether it is in looking forward to the future, to the outlook reports, whether looking through all the value chains, whether looking at crops, but not only crops, but also livestock and crop-livestock interaction, whether you're looking at priority setting or impact assessment. And this is why you can see that how some of the results, many of the results done by Partha together with other scientists in economics program and other programs, breeding programs and natural resource management programs and other CGIR like ILRI, and I can see Michael Blumel here, that he has, through social science research, provided very important insights in shaping the institute level priorities and research agenda for poverty alleviation of the Semi-Arid tribes. Let me invite Partha now for his seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Bankalan and Dr. Dar and NG members, all colleagues, former colleagues and present colleagues. Very good morning to all of you. It was indeed overwhelming to hear what Dr. Ryan and Dr. Ram Walker had to say. So I think to make myself feel a little more comfortable, I have to start in a lighter vein. And I would say that normally when we stand here and talk, we make sure that we talk very carefully and properly, because it means we are talking at the institute. But today I can say anything because I've already lost my job. Okay, this is social science research key role in shaping anyway. I think all of you have read this. Now, what does social science research do? It provides valuable insights, present and future demand and supply, adoption constraints at farm level, consumer level perception preferences, which provides feedback to crop improvement scientists to fine-tune, then inputs to institutes, strategic plan, information to policymakers, and assessment of outcome or impact. This is what social science research does. With this presentation itself, I will provide an overview, because I can only provide an overview of the contribution of social science research at ICRISAT last 2-3 decades. And the topics I'll be covering are those where I was kind of involved. Where I can't cover the entire social science, all the research portfolio of social science, but where I was involved, that is crop livestock linkages, commodity situation outlook, program and pearl millet to combat micronutrient deficiency, agricultural diversification, typology of agriculture, market research and linking farmers to markets, and constraints and opportunities to new technologies. As Cynthia said, I have to cover 40 years, but then we have to sit till the evening. So I have tried to just give an overview of what is possible. Well, this is crop livestock linkages, one of the areas that I was very much involved since the mid-80s or early 90s. So you can see the feed research availability in India. Michael Blumel knows this better than anybody else. But basically what it's saying that some feed resources are increasing, some are decreasing. And what the message here is that crop residues are an important source of food resource in India because of the rising straw prices. The rising straw prices indicates that the importance of crop residues, declining grain to straw price ratio, larger seasonal variation in straw prices, increasing straw value and total value of production, growing importance of fodder markets, and long distance trade in short fodder. So these are the things which indicate that crop residues are becoming important. And you can see in this map, you can see that this is total feed, this is crop residues. Much of this black, what you see here, crop residues contribute more than 60% of the total feed available to the animal livestock population. And the red is where it is 35 to 60%. So you can see almost 40 to 70 or 80% of the feed availability comes from crop nutritious cereals like sorghum, pearl millet, finger millet, etc. And also legumes like groundnut, pigeon-pea, chickpea, etc. Well, this is what I was talking about. You see the fodder prices are increasing here much faster than the grain price, and the implication is the decline in the grain to fodder price ratio from almost 6.5 in the 70s to around 2.5 or 3 in the 2000, and this is continuing, sometimes it even a bit lower than this. And then we also found that feed availability is a prime driver of livestock productivity. So unless you have good feed, the livestock productivity will not increase. These are some of the things that you see here. This is for India, and for data in India, data in Nepal. And these are some of the publications. We provide the feedback on these, whatever our work, through these publications. And one of the landmark publications, the relative value of cereal straw fodder in the semi-arid tropics of India, implications for cereal breeding program at ICRISAT. This was with Tim Kelly, myself, and Tom Walker. I think this was one of the seminal publications that kind of influenced the breeding program. Already they were working on it, but here we provided all the facts, figures, and information that what you are doing is right, changing your strategy to dual purpose crops and rather than just focusing on grain based breeding. And this is some more recent one, sorghum and millet newsletter. This is how we convey. This is with Michael Blumel and myself, and this is how we convey what is happening in the market and at the farmers level to the crop scientists. Another area that I touched upon in this livestock revolution under the crop livestock linkages. We all know that the livestock revolution has been happening in the developed countries and mostly in developing countries. Everybody knew about it. But my research, what we did was we showed that even in semi-arid tropics of Africa, Asia, North Central America, the livestock revolution is happening, whereby between 1980, 2000 and 2020, there's almost a doubling. There is a massive increase in the percent requirement of different livestock feed like milk, meat, etc. So the livestock revolution is not confined to just developing countries, but also to SAT within the developing countries. And this then urbanization is a big driver of a non-ruminant meat, another finding which has a large implication, showing that as urbanization increases, incomes increase, so there is a demand for poultry meat, and we can see that at the global level, almost 70% of the 70% of the non-ruminant meat is expected to come from non-ruminant meat, that is poultry and pig. So that's that. And same situation we are finding in the other SAT regions of India. So poultry and pig meat are the big drivers of this livestock revolution, besides milk in Asia particularly. And what is the outcome of this research on crop livestock linkages? The biggest outcome is the ICRISAT collaboration. The collaboration started sometime in the 90s, and then we have an ICRI office there opened by Diana Keating at that point in time, and you can see Michael Blumel there. So ILD office was opened, the regional office at ICRISAT, and we had several areas of collaboration. And what did ICRISAT do with all the research that was carried out under the crop livestock linkage? ICRISAT realigned its research project portfolio to include livestock. This was sometimes in the 90s. And then ICRISAT started a global team on crop livestock linkages. We had global team, they were called GT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I recollect, GT5 is the global team on crop livestock linkages, for which Bruno Gerard was the leader of that this one. So it had implications on the outcome. And then we had several workshops. One on mixed crop livestock system, a must for the SAT, and our DG, Dr. William Dudar, was one of our major supporters for promoting crop livestock work at ICRISAT, which they were leading from the economics program in collaboration with ILRI. So you can see this was in 2000, this particular workshop was in 2000. And another workshop a little later, outscaling fodder technologies for benefit of poor livestock keeper. Dr. Dar giving the opening remarks for this. And every time he was there, he used to encourage us that the work on crop livestock linkages is very important and it should be given the pride of place that it deserves. So then followed a series of collaborative projects on crop livestock linkages and fodder and food improvement projects in Asia. So I won't go into the details. You can see the number of projects that have come up. Plant diseases that was in Anantapur, and then increasing livestock productivity, which I was leading. The second was initially led by Pandey, and little bit by Michael Blumel, and later I was leading it. And stakeholders coalition for sorghum for poultry feed, Vellam Reddy was leading that. Fodder innovation project, Milry was leading, and then this is under the APRLP project. And then we have a number of projects from the crop improvement program trying to improve the crop residue aspects of our mandate crops. And then this partnership was flourishing. We had meetings in the districts at the regional level, and we had newspaper articles coming out, and these were much well received. Okay, then we had two landmark publications also. One is the Crop Livestock Economics in Semi-Arid Tropics, Facts, Trends and Outlook. That's where we talk about the livestock revolution. And then the livestock and mixed farming system in South Asia, which not only includes India but also Nepal and Bangladesh, Nepal and Sri Lanka. So these were landmark publications under this particular activity of crop livestock. And there are several other publications, journal articles in field crop research, and in it's whatever. Then we have so many other policy briefs and many other reports followed from this. So these are clubbed. These many of them came early, some later, so I've included all together. Now we come to the next one, commodity situation and outlook. This is another area of research that I was involved in. And we have some very landmark publications under this, the World Chickpea and Pigment Economy, World Sorghum and Millet Economy, World Groundnut Economy. These were the first series in the, let's say, in the 90s, first series of publications in the 90s. These were then updated again in the 2000s, again groundnut, same crop, our mandate crop, but updated information was coming out. And these facts and trends reports, what do they include? They include information in area production, yield trends of mandate crops and competing crop, production constraints, utilization and consumption trends of our mandate crops, international trade, prices, markets, institutions and policies, and outlook. So these are the coverages under this outlook report. So from this outlook report, recently Alistair Ayer and myself, we were involved in some, trying for the whole project, we were trying to figure out what is the big picture for sorghum and millets, which includes, even sub-Saharan Africa. So we looked at the demand and supply aspects, and we said consumer demand varies between regions, class, rural, urban areas. So it's not common across all regions. Projections show growing demand in USA, WCA, but a slower growth in South Asia. New end users are coming up in all regions, South Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. And on the supply side, the market surplus is very variable. Existing market structure reduces price incentives for growers. Volume, consistent supply and quality are concerns for processors. Processors are unable to use sorghum and pulse many times because they don't get the volume, they don't get the quality they are looking for. And collective marketing, which was tried out under several projects in all the three regions, shows some success in linking these farmers to the producers, to the processors, and inclusive business models do exist, but on a limited scale. So now I'll talk about a little bit about sorghum in India. I'm moving to India. Much of my work was here. So we have done some spatial and temporal variation using GIS tools for rainy season sorghum area and yield by district in India. You can see the area, this green is very high area, more than 10,000 hectares or so. And then in 1980, 82, and over the years by 2005-7 it had decreased. So sorghum area decreased. We all know sorghum area went down, but here you can see where it went down, which district, which state, and where it went down. What are the pockets there it is still surviving, like you have this pocket here, and so on. Similarly, yield. Sorghum yield, in contrast, increased between 1982 and 2007 because you can see more green here. And we can then see where it increased, why it increased, what are the factors driving yield increase, what are the factors why some areas still continue to remain low yield. So this information is valuable for our crop scientists. And one information, we all say sorghum area is declining in India, but what we found was the share of Rabi sorghum in fact was increasing. What was decreasing was actually the rainy season sorghum. The post-rainy season sorghum area and production were not really decreasing, they were more or less constant. So the share of rainy season sorghum area and production in total sorghum production has been increasing over time. Okay, now, okay, so I'll come back to that a little later. Now I'm talking about consumption. You can see the per capita consumption of sorghum has come down drastically at the all India level between 72 and 2010, both rural and urban. But what we show, and then here I'm showing that although it has come down, you can see that what has come down is the rainy season sorghum. And you can see this post-rainy season sorghum more or less remaining constant. The availability for food use other with the post-rainy season is constant. So because population is increasing, per capita consumption would certainly decline. But it's compared to see the difference, the contrast. But what we should look at is that in the major growing states or regions of major growing states of Maharashtra and Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, in the major growing regions, that is internal, inland, central Maharashtra and so on, you can see the per capita consumption is much higher. It's almost 54, 49, 45 kg per annum compared to 3, 5 at all India level. So this is one information which was very valuable for us to justify our work on these crops, particularly under the CRPs 3.6 and so on. And then, of course, this is 2005 data. We need to update this to 2010 data, but this may have come down a little bit by now, but still they are much, much higher than the all India level. And one more thing we showed, which had a very large impact, was particularly for the CRP, was that the poor are the major consumers of this crop. The low, see we have expenditure category, low, medium, high. Low is the low income group category, and they consume almost 52%. 52% of the sorghum that is available for food use, and 39% is the medium, and high only 8%. The per capita consumption of low is also very high, both in rural and urban. Urban, especially 67% of the consumption that goes for urban consumers is consumed by the poor. So these were, findings that really help us to justify our work on this crop under the CRPs. So we have seen that sorghum food use has been declining at the all India level. So again, at the all India level, what we find is that the alternative uses for sorghum is increasing from 5 to 44. And what are these alternative uses? They include poultry feed, cattle feed, alcohol, starch, etc. And okay, now we also looked at some value-added products of sorghum. Although alternative is increasing, food use in terms of value-added products is something we looked at, and there are a number of products that are now available, particularly in the growing regions. Although their volume or their quantity sold may not be very big. And then we did a SWOT analysis to see what would make these, these products take up. What are the strengths, and what are the opportunities, weakness, and threat. Process upgrading. Process upgrading means like grading, packing, and things like that. Cleaning the grain, grading, packing, etc. Even at the village level, can lead to better price for the farmers. Product upgradation is producing new products, which is happening in many places, also in sub-Saharan Africa. And we looked at what is strength, weakness. In fact, I won't go into details. Now, under the CRP 3.6 in 2014, 15, and 16, we'll be looking at this aspect. I think you can vouch for that. We have product upgradation. We'll be looking at value-added products, demand for value-added products under CRP 3.6, and some of the information we have already provided here. Now, pearl millet, very briefly, it is just like there's not much difference between pearl millet and sorghum, so I will not dwell on it much. So this is pearl millet. Then again, same declining consumption, higher consumption at the regional level, low consumers and medium. Low and medium consumers are more important consumers of sorghum. Where medium are also playing an important role, particularly in urban areas also. And then we can see food use. Now here, increased to 30%. So you can see that alternative uses are increasing, just like for sorghum, and you can see this graph here. 60% of pearl millet would be going for cattle feed, poultry feed, and alcohol in India over time. So you can see the growing demand for alternative pearl millet in India. And what is the reason for declining use? There are a number of reasons, availability of wheat, etc. But one important reason here, non-storability of flour even for 1-2 weeks. This is a finding which we all know about, but we had a more concrete. So this finding led to now we are looking at rancidity in sorghum. kind of under this, trying to understand how, why it becomes rancid. And growing importance of summer permanent. This is another area that is becoming important. Summer permanent is coming in a big way under irrigated conditions. Summer permanent is being grown. So you can see that both area and production of summer permanent, particularly in Gujarat, is increasing relative to the rainy season pearl millet. Quite a significant increase. When addressing malnutrition, this is another area where we showed that sorghum and millets contribute to iron and zinc intake in major growing regions, almost to the extent of 20 to 48% of iron, 16 to 44% of zinc. And pearl millet sorghum are also the cheapest source of iron and zinc compared to rice, milk, meat, and eggs. This led to selection from existing varieties and breeding for high iron and zinc content being carried out under the Harvest Plus and related program that we all know, both for sorghum and millet. And this was the landmark publication that was this one, that is Diagnostic of Sorghum and Pearl Millet Grain based on nutrition in India. It was in collaboration with Bellam Reddy and K.M. Rao, and this one, so with the crop improvement scientists. This was used to get projects from Harvest, so that sorghum and millet are the cheapest sources of iron and zinc. There are several outcomes today. There is work going on iron and zinc for both sorghum and millet, heat tolerant pearl millet. When the government of India started new is an important to the latest available year and see how these crops are still continuing. Now we come to agricultural diversification. I don't want to delve too much. There are several factors that are driving changes in the consumer basket: income growth, higher income elasticity, urban population growth, change in taste, increased role of private sector, emergence of niche markets, demographic features, women involvement in workforce, changing proportion of young to old people, changing shares of ethnic groups. All these are driving changes in the consumer basket, and these drivers will continue to influence consumer basket in the short to medium term. So there is a rising share of fruits and vegetables, milk and meat. You can see over time between 80 and 2010, the share of rice and wheat has come down in the total oil and gas value of production. Their value has come down, and the value of fruits and vegetables and milk has gone up considerably. So now they account for 20%, 40% is accounted by them, these two categories. Same thing here, you can see milk, and now this fruits and vegetables milk have the highest value in rupees per billion. And then you can see the share of high value commodities, fruits, vegetables, milk, food has been increasing from 1980 from 32 to 45% in 2010. This is another that agriculture diversification on national highways. This was something we used GIS technique to superimpose national highways on the level of agricultural diversification. What we found was that wherever there are national highways passing, then we will find that national highways passing from the urban center to the neighboring districts, then we will find that the diversification is more there. So infrastructure plays a very important role, and this graph has been done in collaboration with ICRI. I think they even have it on a display there, showing this graph on diversification national highways. This is the same thing. When there are more than two highway passes and above, the 37% is accounted by high value crops, and there are no highway passes, it is 28%. And some of the publications again coming from this work, these are the agricultural diversification in Andhra Pradesh. This is agricultural high value crop. In this book, agricultural smallholders, published by ICRI. And then this is economic and political weekly diversity in high value crops and urbanization infrastructure. So all these reports contain information that was carried. Then we have another area that is typology of crop livestock systems. And any country is large and it's not possible to plan for the entire country. So we need to divide the country into small systems or zones in order to better plan, better target, better target the technology. The previous approaches on typology of agriculture were based on only agroclimatic factors, that is rainfall, soils, etc. What we have done is we have tried to develop a typology of agriculture that incorporates both agroclimatic and socio-economic features of the region that determines farmers' choice of agricultural economies. Your area may be good in rainfall, but if it doesn't provide credit facilities or if it doesn't have a market, The farmer may grow a crop which does very well under that climatic situation, but he doesn't have a market to sell. So that's why we are saying both agroclimatic and socioeconomic features have to be considered while developing the typology of agriculture. We have a series of them, which is the first one is rain-fed, only rain-fed agriculture typology. This was followed by crop-livestock typology in 1998. This crop-livestock is something unique, which I think only we have done here at ICRISAT, unless Michael can say something different. And then we have another crop-livestock topic, more recent 2008-9 data. And these are the zones. I can't go into detail, it's a seminar by itself. So the zones, and each zone is homogeneous in the sense that any technology or development initiatives will be, will be success here because it's a homogeneous zone. Each zone is homogeneous with specific crops, and specific agroclimatic and socioeconomic features. Then some of the publications and the typology. Okay, now another area where I was involved, maybe 50% of my time, market research and linking farmers to markets. This is another area which I've been involved right from the beginning. So I think I'll take little time, 5 minutes here. So many times we only talk about, we talk about HIV, seed fertilizer. We say these are the ones that increase production. But what I'm saying is market density, well-connected road networks and other infrastructure also promote aggregate agricultural productivity. So it's not just inputs, but it's also infrastructure that promotes productivity. Particularly free trade is another example that can increase agricultural productivity. An example is the elimination of food zones in India. With the restrictions on trade between southern, northern, eastern, western India, you cannot move rice or wheat from one zone to the other. So when these restrictions were removed, you could see that agricultural productivity has been growing. Then the reason for higher productivity with good, if you have good market access, the productivity per unit of land is higher. The reason being, you can go for diversified cropping pattern, better access to inputs, you have better informed on cropping and marketing decisions. Thus, investments in markets-related infrastructure and removal of trade restrictions would enhance agricultural productivity over space and time. The trade restriction is something that WTO keeps on talking about, and everybody is trying to wriggle out of it, but it's there. But over time, when I worked in the markets in the 80s, early 80s, and sometime in 90s, it was a different scenario. We had only these regulated markets, and they were the dominating thing. But over time, from mid-90s or early 90s, markets are changing. They're changing because there is a move away from subsistence agriculture, increasing marketed surplus with more than half being marketed. Then I talked about the diversification of agriculture to these high-value crops. Niche markets are coming up for organic and basmati products. Alternative uses of our nutri-cereals like poultry feed, alcohol. Then that's why the plow-to-plate linkages are required because cost and quality have become very important, particularly not only in the domestic market but also international market where you have sanitary and phytosanitary requirements which are very strict these days. Emergence of supermarkets, another new area that has come up. What implication does it have on the farmers' marketing strategies? Exports also are taking place, particularly for niche products like grapes, gherkins, grapes. And the processing sector is consolidating. That is, the small processors are consolidating to become big and big. So to meet this changing context of markets, the emerging commodity market, there are several new emerging commodity markets are emerging. These are like contract farming, direct marketing, that is where farmers sell directly in the market, cooperative marketing, this has existed for some time. Bulk marketing, where farmers form into association and sell in bulk. Forward markets and future markets, this is still in nascent stage, especially in India. ICT-enabled supply chains, e-chopper is the best example. Specialized wholesalers are coming up. So horizontal vertical integration to reduce transaction costs and improve market efficiency are becoming more and more important. So in this context, at ICRISAT, what we did was we looked at the innovation system where linking stakeholders for research impact. We wanted to link the stakeholders for a better research impact because we said the linear model of technology transfer, that is from researcher to extension agent to farmer, is no longer suitable. It used to be suitable in the green revolution days maybe, but not suitable anymore. What we need is an innovation system model. Basically what this says is It allows for a more diverse set of actors and relationships, for example, scientists, public sector, private sector companies, NGOs, research managers, farmers. So it includes both research and non-research stakeholders, and also public and private sector stakeholders, and each player is contributing to the overall goal. And while meeting their own sub-goals. So this is another approach called cloud-to-plate intervention. So I will not dwell. We have linkages at every level. We have linkages at input level, credit level, output linkage, and so on. This is the past intervention where you have improved cultivars, you increase the yield, and then you have production technology that increases the yield and that goes to the farmer. So this is with linkages, and this is an innovation production supply chain that we developed under one of the projects. This is the CFC project on linking small farmers to poultry feed industry, poultry feed and alcohol industry. So here you can see the farmers are bulking and grading. These are the farmers formed into association, bulking and grading the produce, storing in a warehouse, and then selling to the poultry, linking with poultry feed manufacturers, small scale poultry producers. And here you can see the farmers that the crop research institute like ICRISAT, ANGRI, etc. provide information on the crop to the farmers association group, and they're also linked to the input users, input providers here, and to credit linkage, which is to the bank. So all the stakeholders are involved here in this, and I don't have to say much. We made a poster out of this, and in 2006, under the theme Agriculture Research for Development, Evidence of Contribution to Achieving the MDGs and Poverty Reduction, this was a prize-winning poster of the GFAD conference in 2006. The same poster that what I showed you just now. So the number of what happened in the process is the number of projects came up, projects based on innovation approach, that is funded by DFID, funded by CFC, funded by MAIT, ICR, and these projects were in collaboration with the crop improvement scientists. Many times Belam Subbareddy was involved in most of the projects, along with his other colleagues in the program, and including Ashok Kumar, Ravindra Reddy, Ashok Kumar, etc. It was very much a collaborative project. Then we have this MIT project, which is a multi-stakeholder project funded by ICR through the World Bank Fund and MIT. And all this followed the conversion approach, the coalition approach that I talked about. So we kind of started that, and then our donors kind of accepted that approach, and they have provided us all these projects. And then at the same time, I won't dwell on this, the government of India was changing the marketing act. They also realized that markets are changing, that the old rules and regulations no longer will hold. So they were also trying to come up with new regulations, new acts, which includes provisions, bulk marketing, contract farming, the same thing that I talked about, what we were experimenting in our projects. The government of India came up with an act which included all these provisions. And several states are amending these acts, although not many have reached the ground level application of the CFC project as one of the provisions here. So these are some of the publications, marketing issues in oriented agriculture, presented at the Indian Society of Agriculture Marketing, right to linking farmers to market. These are the seminal publications. And then under sweet sorghum, which was also carried out under the value chain approach, coalition approach, we have what we call under the MIT project, developing sweet sorghum for ethanol value chain. And this is in China, enhancing sweet sorghum ethanol value chain in China. And this is the ZT factory in China that processes sweet sorghum for ethanol. So these are all value chain project, coalition approach, linking farmers to market. Same concept. So now, after having said all this, I think I'll be finishing around another 5 minutes. So after all this, key findings, what do look at these findings are published, this, that, we talk to the crop improvement scientists, but where do they, if you want to look at them, where do you look at them? Key findings captured in background documents for the formulation of strategic plans and medium term. And what are the background documents? The background documents are those documents prepared by our senior economists. This is by Ryan and Spencer, Future Challenges and Opportunities for Agriculture R&D in Semi-Arid Tropics. This was in 2000, and it captures most of the things I talked about under the commodity situation outlook, crop-livestock linkages, etc. Then more recent one is by Tom Walker, Challenges and Opportunities for Agriculture and R&D in Semi-Arid Tropics. This also captures much of the work, particularly a whole section on crop livestock linkages and livestock work in this particular thing. And basically these are inputs that should go, and then we have something on poverty here. So these are inputs taken from the work that social scientists do, plus many other contributions from other scientists. I'm not saying just social scientists. And then these go into our ICRISAT strategic plan 2020. We had several strategic plans even earlier. This is the latest one I'm putting here. They go into the medium term plan. This is 2002-2004, and they also feed into CRP 3.5, 3.6. We all know that very well. We had a very tough time justifying both CRP 3.5, 3.6, and we had to provide a lot of information, data, and real justification on why we want to work on those crops, why ICRISAT or anybody should be working on those crops. Now, okay, I think I've come to an end of what I had to present. And I'm just now showcasing myself maybe a little bit. So this is a professional spin-off from all the work that I did, but it's not just, the credit goes to me. It is everybody's credit, because I always worked in a team. I think the group who's here will definitely work for it. But I always worked in a team and believed in teamwork. So basically, these are some small things here. Recognition for contribution to agricultural research and development work under linking farmers to market by Liaoning Academy LAS in China, Department of Agriculture, Kingdom of Thailand, Government of Andhra Pradesh. And I am an invited member of the Commission on Agriculture, Government of Andhra Pradesh, currently ongoing. I was chairperson for the session on conservation agriculture of the Indian Society of Agricultural Economics. Editorial board member for Agriculture Economic Research Review Journal of the Economic Research Association for these 2 years. Chairperson for the session on livestock marketing in India at the annual National Conference of Indian Society of Agricultural Marketing. Keynote speaker on marketing issues in rainfed agriculture in India at National Conference of Indian Society of Agricultural Marketing. And then invited speaker, represented ICRISAT at international national workshops and I was representing ICRISAT at several international national workshops and conferences. Then one of our papers with Basoraj and myself won the best journal article for MIP, Market Mixing Policy program in 2012. That is regional analysis of household consumption of sorghum, if I want the sorghum should be there, in India, published in Food Security in 2012. So that is the citation and the recognition that we got for that paper. And then, of course, there is a recognition also by Liaoning Academy of Agricultural Sciences, LAS, PR, China, for promotion of sweet sorghum for ethanol value chain in Inner Mongolia, PR, China. You can see Ravindra Reddy. One person missing here is Belam Reddy, because I think by the time he retired, so he's not here, otherwise he should have been here. That is President Pao, the president of LAS Academy, and she is Zhe Zhengzi, who is our partner on sorghum, and this is Asst, the FAO representative on this particular project. Thank you.
With that, I think we owe Partha a standing ovation. Thank you very much. We will not end, because I'm sure that you have questions, and I will have a chance to entertain some questions which will be followed by other activities, and we would like to capture your questions as well as feedback from others during this morning exercise. In fact, we have planned that we will have this morning and this afternoon all day long, but we were informed that some of us will not be available in the afternoon, and we would like to capture you all while you're here this morning. So any feedback or questions that you would like to ask Partha? Joanna.
Just one question. I think I saw in one of the tables the prediction of demand for food usage for, it was sorghum or millet, and it showed a decline, a smaller figure. I'm assuming that's done through extrapolation of the current trend. But through your experience, what do you see as a potential for the food demand? If you weren't just looking at extrapolation, what could be the triggers for change, for changing that trend?
Yeah, food demand both for sorghum and millet are declining. What I showed was percentage decline from 46 to 40% or something like that. It's not an exact number, but percentage decline. But other fatty food, poultry food, alcohol are increasing in terms of relative to food use. There is a slide on why food use is declining. So the biggest reason, which we have been telling for the last 20 years, is the government of India is providing rice and wheat at subsidized rate in the public distribution system. And many people have switched to that because you get rice and wheat at 5 rupees or even nowadays 3 rupees, 2 rupees, whatever it is, compared to sorghum and millet. So we have all the time advocating the introduction of these crops, sorghum and millet, also in the public distribution system. And under the national recent amendments to this National Food Security Act, pearl millet and sorghum and even finger millet have been included in this one, and they are supposed to be given at 1 rupee a kg, you can imagine. So, but who is giving where, how much is being given, we still don't have data, and some of our economists will be soon having projects to look at that. Mostly Madhu Batra, I think, will look at some of the national food security, how it's functioning in some selected villages, and what is happening to our mandate crops, sorghum and millet and finger millet. Are they really being distributed as provided for in the Act? So that is an area that we need to explore. And secondly, these cereals should not be called core cereals anymore, but we should call them nutri-cereals. And in that sense, these are the high nutrition value, and we should promote them as nutritive crops, nutritive cereals and nutritive crops. And the work on iron and zinc and happening both for pearl millet and sorghum is showing the way for that. And if that succeeds, it will be a very big success for these crops. And the government of India also started this Nutri-Farms program, where they are introducing high zinc and iron lines of sorghum and pearl millet and also some other crops. So the government of India is also keen that at the farmer's field itself, the nutrient content of these crops should be increased by introducing these high nutrient content lines, high iron and zinc lines at the farmer's field. So that is another area where we need to focus, because when we obtained funding from Harvest Plus, meaning the crop improvement program along with all of us, we were advocating that this is one of the best ways of getting these nutrients, rather than through pills or through some other means, external means. This is food intake, and as long as we are intaking that food, that is another area. The third is, the biggest group that is against these crops is the youth. The youth are not really consuming these sorghum and pearl millet anymore. They want rice. In fact, they don't even want rice. They want pizzas and hamburgers and so on. So, in that sense, how do we make the youth realize that these crops are, important, nutritious, and they should be consuming them? So we have to kind of either educate them or make some products, as I said, some value-added products, which can, make them realize that yes, these crops are also can be used to make value. They are not core cereals, but they are important cereals for value-added products. I think these are some of the things.
Thank you. I'll call upon three who I would like to request feedback on Partha's seminar, and they are very special to Partha and very special to the work that he has done. So let me first call Sarawat, and then I'll call Bellu, and I'll call Michael Bluno as well.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Partha, thank you for that very impressive sweep of how social sciences become front and center in the biological research effort. I think you've really hit the nail on the head in terms of relevance, in terms of setting the context, in terms of just making meaningful contributions to development. So starting off the bat, 4 decades of work, that was an amazing sweep, I would think. Very critically, I think one of the things that we need to be increasingly thinking about is changing climate change. And a recent study by the World Bank called Turn Down the Heat talked about a 1.5 to 2 degree warming scenario, resulting in a reduction of area devoted to maize, sorghum, and pearl millet by up to 40 to 80%. I think that is going to be the major driving force for these orphan crops that you talked about. I mean, and this is not so much as a question, but just as a comment. If you were looking at making these orphan crops, as we used to call them, at least when I started my career here, these were sort of 40 years ago, they were called orphan crops. One example that you could take inspiration from is quinoa, grown largely in Latin America. It's enjoying an amazing resurgence all across Northern America. And, you know, as soon as Whole Foods started to market quinoa, it has now become there's been a run for it, and it's now one of the most popular sort of, non-traditional crops in consumption diets. So I think give me your thoughts about what you see for the future of these crops. I mean, you've given those numbers and so forth. Are they forever destined to be orphan crops? How do we get them into the mainstream? And then also the big issue, which is climate change. Thank you, Partha.
Okay. We'll hear from Bellum also and Michael, and at the same time, Partha will respond.
Partha, congratulations one more time. It was indeed an inspiring and enchanting seminar. You have put the whole of your research and also the research of socio-economics program in the context of ICRISAT research agenda, and you have brought out very clearly. And more importantly, I am very happy to see that the way you have justified the sorghum and millet, although they are dwindling in terms of their contribution to the food, the way you have brought about the research findings to support the research, that is more interesting. And apart from what you have narrated, the important insights in terms of triggering their value in the market chain, and in the food chain, and in the context of climate change, and you will have more and more the fodder and forage also that triggers and helps in terms of the animal products, meat and milk products. So that is also a very important one. And also the other alternative use directly in terms of poultry production, both meat as well as egg. So these things will keep these crops in terms of climate change, the value in terms of supporting the animal products, both as fodder as well as forage, and then poultry feed, apart from the food, in terms of what you said, the micronutrients. They keep these, all these factors keep these crops floating for at least another 50 years to come. I enjoyed the seminar. Thank you, Cynthia, for inviting me for this seminar. Thank you, Partha.
At least may we get some feedback from Michael Blumer.
Well, Partha, thanks a lot for the seminar, and obviously thanks a lot for the very productive collaboration we had during the last 15 years or so from my side. It was very interesting to see that a lot of that crop residue feed work goes actually back a long time. I mean, looking at one of those articles which you presented, more than 20 years when it was published, and you probably add another 3, 4, 5 years for the actual research. So 20, 25 years on that kind of work, and sometimes it takes a long time to get into real outcomes, like in the CRPs now, but it works. Anyway, one thing I would be really interested in your thoughts is looking back 40 years, let's say look ahead 20 years. What are the real opportunities for smallholders in the kind of system we're working on, say crop-livestock systems? Do we have a chance to survive the next 15, 20 years, or are they not competitive enough? Thanks.
Wow, Michael ends with a big bang question. Right, so we have good questions and inquiries from Sarawat and Belum and Michael. Would like to give Partha a chance to wrap it up all by responding.
Yeah. Regarding Sarawat's question on how we can promote these crops, I think whatever answer I gave earlier, they hold good in the sense, we are told about youth and about nutri-cereals, about negative factors, the positive factors. Regarding the question on quinoa, well, that's a good example, but quinoa prices shot up to almost 600, 500 a kg. I don't want that to happen to sorghum or millet. Then you won't find nobody can afford it. But quinoa, I don't know who was affording it. It was going up to, it even went to 1,000 rupees, 500, 600 rupees and more. So that is a different ball game. Let's sorghum and millet. Because we need to promote them, but the prices should not shoot up today. Regarding climate change, yeah, that is not really my area, but we have people working on climate change. Zara Singh and, Nedumaran and so on. They are working on climate change and more on climate change and how when the temperature increases, what kind of varieties will be required. They are doing some virtual crop modeling on, with higher climate, what kind of crop you would need. So you can get much more information talking to them later. To Zara Singh, Nedumaran. So I think that's what.
Thank you, Partha.
Yeah. Regarding Devan Godi, I think we have reiterated most of the things that I was talking about. So, I think I'm assuming that you're talking for both sorghum and millet, and these two crops. And you are saying that fodder and feed are important, and I think I stressed that in my crop livestock that the feed resource fodder of these crops is getting more and more important because of rising price ratios and so on. So definitely the work on fodder should continue. And as food use is somewhat declining and we are finding more than 50% going to alternative uses, the work on poultry feed, alcohol and other uses should definitely be emphasized. And I think under the Hope project this was already being emphasized quite a bit. So I'm with you, I agree with whatever you said. Then coming to, Michael Blumel, I think our work was mostly on fodder and forages, and I think the question you asked was whether the crop livestock system, these crops can continue in the near future. In, let's say, 1980s and 90s, what we said was these crops will definitely continue, that is sorghum and pearl millet. If not for their grain, definitely for their fodder. That's what we said in 1990s, because we said their straw or fodder is so important, and 70% of the straw in many regions comes feed availability comes from these crops. These crops are crop residues. So given that dual purpose sorghum and pearl millet will continue in mixed crop livestock system for the next 20, 30 years. That's what we told in the 80s and early 90s. But today, what should I say? I would say the same thing, but I may not say 20, 30 years. I would say let's look at it for the next 10 years, and then let's see what other changes are happening in the other feed resources. Maybe grain, much more grain will go for feed after 10 years or so, as our food security requirements are met. In which case, the emphasis on crop residues may decline a bit, but I don't see that happening at least in the next 10 years or more. That is my take, and we need to do more research to really address that.
Thank you, Partha. This is to say that this seminar is actually viewed worldwide. This is available to all our colleagues in Africa as well as all of our partners in the world. And I'll just call upon one question that is asked through KSIConnect. And this comes from Uttam Kumar Deb, a colleague who is now in Bangladesh during the next few weeks. He says, congratulations, Partha, but I have a question. So he's asking that since we have moved into a strategy which is based on inclusive markets-oriented development, we'd like for you to share your thoughts about what are the major research questions that should now be pursued by our ICRISAT social scientists in the next 2 years or medium term to promote inclusive markets-oriented development.
Yeah, this is not a very easy question because there's a lot of debate about iMode and how to go about it. Srinivas Rao and me have been grappling with it quite some time. But basically, well, I mean, whatever, ultimately our goal should be, anything we do should be market oriented. So, like, we were doing that before. It's not that something new. Like, for example, if you sorghum or palm, I'm talking only about sorghum and palm. I'm sorry. I'm also, most of my outlook reports are also on legume, groundnut, chickpea. But because of time, I only concentrate on these two crops. I could have spoken about them also, but some other time. So now, so whenever a new variety is developed, we are providing feedback on what are the adoption constraints, what are the preferred traits for a particular, for example, for millet, what is the preferred trait for alcohol industry, what is the preferred trait for poultry feed, similarly for sorghum and so on. So similarly for value-added product, what are the preferred traits that the processors will be looking for? These are in a way market-oriented. So the breeder is just breeding without looking at the market. That is not iMode. iMode is when the breeder is breeding or doing his work, crop improvement work. I don't mean breeder, crop improvement work. Anybody doing the crop improvement, keeping the market in mind. Then it is, they are doing that so-called iMode work. But at the same time, from our program, we should see that the emphasis is on inclusive market-oriented development. By inclusive, we mean all those who are, not part of the value chain also become part of the value chain. And here the socioeconomics are a big challenge because we need to identify those people who grow these crops but are not able to reach up to the value chain, who still live under subsistence conditions. Like Rangara knows that better than anybody. Tribal populations, they have some issues with marketing and other things. So how do we reach those unreached? So that is where the inclusive market, that's where the social science research can help. Rangara always asks us to accompany him whenever he goes to Anantapur or other travel, Adilabad and so on. And some of us have tried to help him, but not enough. Maybe we can do more to see how those can be linked to the market. Similarly, women, how to link women also, women farmers to the market. These are.
Okay, thank you very much, Partha. Was grown from a team led by Partha as he was alone, the lone social scientist here in Asia in 1999, 2000, 2001. When we all left him, we all went to Africa. He has grown from that small team of one scientist to a big team of 22 scientists with more than 75 support staff. And that's great. And I would like to say that I've been trying my best not to be emotional, and I will try not to be Partha, but we will really miss Partha. We've been trying to say to him already that we will miss everything about him, and most especially that we will miss our assistant program director for research program markets, institutions, and policies. For many years, even when he did not occupy the position, he already did the job and the task as assistant director for research program for markets, institutions, and policies. So the guidance, the wisdom, and the huge experience that Partha shared with us for almost 4 decades at ICRISAT as he worked with Jim Ryan, Tom Walker, Von Open, Rolf Muller,
Tom
Walker, let me not miss Tom Walker, and all the ones who he grew up with as a young man. And one of those best friends is Sarawat and many others, and Prabhu Pingali. They were all together as young fellows. And now they are at this stage just greeting him. Good and good retirement, good advice for retirement, but they're even saying that even after retirement, he will be approached many, many times.